scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul and seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul and seal your doom tonight.
At last, a worthy disciple.
Alrighty, hello everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed that little song there, intro. But yeah, so I was inspired to do a theme that I thought would be really cool to have in Hearthstone. Because you see some skeletons around, Rattling Rascals, Skelemancer, like that make skeletons, but I don't think there's really anything that has a skeleton tag to it. And so I felt like that when they did the Witchwood, they should have had some spooky stuff, you know, because it's supposed to be like a scary set, which, yeah, they have wisps, they have some kind of scary things, but they had an opportunity to make skeletons be like a thing, be like a spooky set, and there wasn't really any skeletons. Granted, it's supposed to be like a haunted forest, I am aware, but, you know, I kind of feel like the skeletons themselves deserve or should have their own tag, and maybe even like a sub-tribe theme built off of them, right? So, I guess let's dive right in, and I'll see you guys. Yeah, so let's dive right in and see what skeletons that you guys have submitted to me that you think would be cool skeleton cards in Hearthstone, and I'll show you mine at the end. Alrighty. Much better. Alright, so on to the cards. Okay, so the first one here was one card submitted by Carcat. It was a late entry, but I was able to squeeze it in here, so it is Nautilus. 5 mana 4/5 skeleton. Cast Roll the Bones. Death Rattle. Cast Bone Storm. So, Roll the Bones is a rogue spell that says, draw a card. If it's a Death Rattle minion, draw again. So, what's cool about it is it can basically, if those are your only spells in your deck, and your only minions are Death Rattle minions, it will fill your hand with Death Rattle minions. So that's obviously very good to have. And if you mill, you would only mill the first card, like of your burn, because you couldn't physically draw that 11th card, you know. So, yeah, you would lose a Death Rattle card, but otherwise it would be okay, I think. And then Bone Storm is a spell that lets you deal 1 damage to all enemies and then draw a card, I believe. A boss used it in Knights of the Frozen Throne. So that was kind of cool. Using 2 different mechanics kind of cards, and he gave it a kobold's background. Which was pretty nifty. Alright, so Karkat, thank you for that. I think that'd be an interesting addition for the rogue class to have. I like that, which would basically, when you play him, cast a spell, and then when he dies, you, like, he could draw your hand full, potentially. And then, deal AoE, and then let you draw again for 5 mana for rogue, which is very nice, so thank you for that, Karkat. Alright, so these next cards here were submitted by Torva. Let me get this. There we go. Okay. So, Druid Epic, 4 mana, 2/3, Undead Summoner. At the end of your turn, summon a random neutral minion that died this game. So, that's actually pretty cool, because it's neutral, right? So that could be Cobalt Scalebane, it could be Starnet Changang, just trying to think of things that are played now in the meta, you know. I guess it could bring back the 10-drop that got killed from the Spiteful Summoner, if it was neutral. It's pretty scary to think, huh? And it's a Lich, which will become important later because you'll see the differences between Skeletons and Lich. Next card Torva submitted. 4 mana for a 4/4 Priest Skeleton. Time Terror. Battlecry. Undo the damage your hero received from the last time your hero took damage. That's crazy. Let's say you're fighting like a Temple Mage, and they decide, oh, I'm going to Pyroblast his face on turn 10, and you're at like 2. Well, you then play Time Terror, and you regain that 10 back. Or even if they just buffed a minion and hit you, you would regain that single point of damage, if that was their last damage, back. That potentially, if someone's trying to OTK you with a huge dude, like with OTK Worgen Warrior, way back in the day, you would gain all that health back, which is pretty nuts. Sorry about that. Okay. And the last card Torva submitted, which I think is fantastic, 6 mana for a 1/20. Necromancer Liana. Lich. Choose one. Swap this minion's health with your hero's health, or swap this minion's health with the enemy hero's health. So your enemy just suddenly dropped down to 20. From like potentially 40 with their Amara if you're fighting a priest. Let's say you're at 2 and you're fighting aggro. Well, now you're back by 20. Very awesome card submission. It'll be a legendary for Warlocks, so you'll see some other Warlock shenanigans with skeletons and such later on. Okay, so next card. These next ones were all submitted by Eddie. Eddie, you sent me a lot of them, but it's okay. I was able to use them, so that's good. Alrighty, so let's get started. 5 mana, rare, 4/4, Death Rattle, Deadly Druid. Summon a skeleton minion that died this game. So, if there's neutral skeletons, which you'll see some, and then some other druid skeletons, when this 5 mana 4/4 dies, it could summon something pretty nasty or something pretty weak, depending on what minions you had that died this game. There we go. That's the word. Okay, next one. 3 mana 2/1 Zombie Shooter. It's a hunter card. Battlecry. Deal 2 damage to a random enemy minion. Honestly, though, that's not too bad. 3 mana. Maybe it's a little much. Maybe it wouldn't see too much play, but, I mean, it kills a dude. Right? As it enters, potentially it can kill a dude. Fire Elemental. I think what else is, like, really played. Grady Sprite, potentially. You know, any of Pally's 1/1 dudes. And it's got that skeleton tag, which will be kind of important later. This is so cool. I love this one that he did. Test of the Undead. 2 mana for a 1/1 skeleton. Battlecry. Add a skeleton minion to your hand. That could be from any class, because it's neutral. And any class can use it. Because, again, it's neutral. So, anyone. And so that could be this Deadly Druid, so you could summon a new skeleton. Or it could be some of the crazier ones you're going to see later on that I made that are a little broken, but that's okay. Golden Light, 6 mana for a 4/6 Warrior Epic card. Battlecry, summon 2 2/1 Loyal Creepers. Now that's really fascinating. So it's 8. It's an 8/8 amongst 3 bodies for 6 mana. Awesome. And look at that art. Oh, that looks so cool. And then there's the Loyal Creeper. You guys to see it? He's got little 2 flails in his hand ready to go. Mages can ping it off, but I don't think that's going to be an issue if you're fighting like some class that really can't deal with that. So, next one he did. 4 mana 2/4. Skeleton War Commander. Neutral, so watch out. All the skeletons can get this buff. Your other skeletons have +2 attack. Basically a Murloc War Leader, but for skeletons, he said. And that's fine. I think that's great. Because I made a good card that synergizes with that pretty well. I mean, being able to buff, we've seen how strong Murloc War Leader is, right? So if you get, let's see, go back a bit. So the Zombie Shooter on turn 3, you then kill one of their dudes and then potentially go in, buff it up and make it now have more attack to hit like more like a truck. Skeleton Hunter, you know? It's a great buff effect if you can get skeletons out by turn 4 and have a few of them out. Granted, this could also be used late game if you have a bunch of skeletons already out and your whole deck's based around skeletons, you know. So, this next one I submitted, Lich King's Recruit, 2 mana for a 1/3 with Rush and Taunt. So, I know what you're thinking. It's got Rush, but it also has Taunt. How could that possibly be good? Well, if you have a Skeleton War Commander out, and you draw this, this is now a 2 mana 3/3 with Rush and Taunt. That can then protect your Skeleton War Commander. Right? Because it's only a 2/4. It's got some health, but its attack's a little weak. So it gives the 2 attack to buff up cards like this to protect it better. It's great, I think. You play this, it can trade into all Paladins and 1/1 dudes. Seems pretty good, I like. Next one, 6 mana for 3/7. Undead Scourge Abomination. Priest. Battle Cry. Deal 2 damage to all skeleton minions. This could potentially be a counter to all the skeleton shenanigans we've seen so far, you know? Where it can actually go and wipe out your enemy's board of skeletons to give you the little bit of an advantage. You know, it's a counter to the skeletons by playing skeletons. But it's Death Rattle. Deal 1 damage to all non-skeletal minions. So, you may have hurt a little bit of your dudes, but now you can deal 1 damage to all the ones that aren't skeletons when it dies. Pretty good. Pretty good, I think. And plus, 7 health in Priest, Divine Spirit, and Fire. Hello? But anyway, very bulky. It can survive a bit, so the Death Rattle won't trigger too bad, but it's still a good beater for what it's worth if you can Divine Spirit and Fire it, you know? 3 mana, 1/3, Rogue. Get to see more of the Rogue Skeleton package. Rotted Assassin. Echo. Deal 1 damage to an enemy minion. You can play 3 of these guys on turn 9 and deal 3 damage to an enemy minion. It's okay. I mean, it's common, right? So it's not like crazy strong, but it's still there. It's still a card, you know? I think because it has Echo, it would work good with that other card that says, anytime you play an Echo, this guy gets 1/1. But I like the art. I think it's a cool idea. Definitely good of the common spot, you know? Because if this thing was at 2, and you could play 5 1/3s, it's a little much that's also able to potentially kill off your minions. I feel like that's very fair for what it's worth. Next one Eddie also submitted. Korvac the Riser. 4 mana for a 4/5. Beautiful stats. Inspire. Summon a skeleton minion that died. He told me afterwards, he said, it's supposed to be yours. So, any of your skeletons that were neutral, or Warlock skeletons, that died, you use your hero power and bring back Inspire. I love it. Great idea. Don't have too many of those use your hero power buffs that Baku and Gen are out, you know? Summon a skeleton minion that died. Yeah, so you could bring back your skeleton war commander here. You could bring this guy back and just buff all your dudes again. Depending on how many you have out, which is pretty... Seems like a good idea. It's got 5 health, so it's bulky. Got the same stats as a Despicable Dreadlord, but when you use your hero power, it gives you a dude. That's good value right there. And it's a Lich, not a skeleton, which won't get buffed by that war commander, but if you have other skeletons out at the time, because preferably you play this round 6, right? You play this on turn 6, you can use your hero power, bring it back. Push come to shove if you're in a tight spot. You could play on 4 and then use your hero power, but then let you bring back another skeleton to try to deal with the board, depending on how the situation works. But I'd say otherwise, pretty good, right? I mean, how can you not say this card is good? It's being a rare and the Warlock class for the skeletons, using Inspire. So you draw a card, bring back a dude that could potentially buff your other dudes, and this guy will probably still be alive because he's got 5 health. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, next one. The next Warlock one, the other Lich. 6 mana for a 4/6. Plague Sorcerer. Corrupt an enemy minion. When destroyed, take control of it. So, he explained that to me too. He said, if your opponent kills off that minion before the corrupt effect takes place, you who played that Plague Sorcerer still gets control of it. It's not if it dies due to the corruption you take control of it. It's if that minion dies in any way. Like, when it's your turn, obviously, you would corrupt it. But when it dies due to anything, you then get to take it. Which I was like, oh, that's crazy. It's like my control on a stick, but it's on a dude. And he picks that target, and then when that target dies, you take control of it. And it's got a big health again. So if you use Hellfire to clear other stuff, you can then play this. Be like, hey, that Lich King, I'm going to take that. So if I Siphon Soul that next turn, Twisting Nether, if you kill that off somehow, I get it. It's a Lich, so it doesn't get the other skeleton buffs. But I don't think it really needs it, you know? It's doing fine on its own the way it is. Sorry about that, just because we're trying to fix this up. There we go. Okay. Next one. Nistak Grimsir. 8 mana for a 6/8 Lich Shaman. Now this card, let me tell you, when you cast a spell, it adds 2 HP to your health. Yep. So you go from 30 to 32, 34, 36. And if you play Hagatha, you get spells, you play them spells, who give you creatures, and then you gain health from it. And then, so you play that creature, right? You get that spell, you play that spell, then you gain health. Max health. So you could have like 60, 80, depending on how many spells that you get off of dudes. I'm glad he made it 8 mana at least. He could have like made it 6, lowered some stats down. But you can't really play too many spells the turn you play this guy. Maybe you'll play like 1 or 2 to increase your max health a little bit. But otherwise, this becomes a huge target for your opponent. Like, they have to kill this. If they don't, you as the shaman just may unload everything just to buff yourself up so high that they can't take you down. Crazy. So thank you, Eddie, for all those submissions. You really helped to spice up that skeleton theme. That was what I was looking for. Skeleton and Lich King theme. Skeleton and Lich themes. So now, I made my own cards. And let me say, well, I probably made them a bit too strong. But I really wanted to push this whole skeleton and lich theme. So I'll break it down, and here we go. So the first one I did, I started simple. I was like, alright, so I need to add something like a little basic kind of here. Get some more like basic things rolling. Another card for Hunter. 2 mana, 3/2, Skeletal Wyvern. So instead of it being a battle cry, instant effect, deal 2 damage to something, which Eddie made, I have a death rattle, deal 1 damage to all enemies. So it's like an AoE effect, but your opponent's probably not going to kill this. So you have to kill this. Granted, yeah, its stats are pretty good. They're Crackling Razor Maw stats, but they don't give a beast an ability like Crackling Razor Maw does. Instead, it just deals 1 damage to all enemies. If you're fighting like a priest, they really don't care. Fighting a warlock, they don't care. I guess it's a good paladin counter card, you know, which it's basic. It's a skeleton, skeletal wyvern, nothing too flashy. Alright, next card I made was Touch of Grim. So it's a warlock spell. Shuffle 3 random skeleton minions into your deck. This is important because all the other skeletons, there were no other skeleton cards made by other people. Only liches for warlocks, which is fine. It's okay. So now warlocks get to have 3 random skeletons shuffled into their deck somewhere. In it, you know? And by doing that, they get to then get 3 random skeletons, you know, to use with their lich cards. And here's why. Oh, I'm sorry. Take that back. You shuffle 3 random skeletons that we've seen into the deck. There's another potential skeleton that could be shuffled into the warlock deck. Bone Horde, 4 mana, 3/4. This is a warrior card, but because of that warlock card, when the Touch of Grim, when the Grim Reaper comes out and just touches you, and blesses you basically, he shuffles 3 random skeleton minions into your deck. This could potentially be one of them. The warrior card, 4 mana, 3/4, Bone Horde. Whenever this minion survives damage, summon a 1/1 skeleton. It's like that one card, the one card for warrior that says whenever it takes damage you get a 2/2 ghoul. That was based off of this. So whenever this Bone Horde takes damage, just summon a 1/1 skeleton. Make your board bigger, so then when you play that war commander, ooh, now they're all buffed, right? Now they're all 3/1 hitters. And then to complement Eddie's other warrior card, where it says when this guy enters, make 2/2/1s. So skeleton warrior, gotta watch out, man. Looking like it's shaping into something pretty tough. Alright, next card. Okay, this one, I spent some time thinking about on how to make these whole mechanics work. 3 mana for a 2/2 skeleton. Skeletal Messenger. Choose a death rattle. Like Fate Spinner, where you choose a death rattle. You choose a death rattle. You can either add a Grow with Grim or a Read the Bones card into your hand. Those are both spells. But they are epic, so there would be 2 of these. which is something I realized afterwards, that may not be a good idea to do. Yeah, I'm gonna say right now, it probably was a little too OP to do, but it was fun, so what can I say? First, do Read the Bones. Read the Bones, super simple, 4 mana, draw 3 Skeleton or Lich cards from your deck. So because Skeleton Messenger is neutral, any class can use this. So if you are like Warlock, where you're primarily Liches, or other classes like Warrior, where you're primary Skeletons, you can draw 3 Skeleton or Lich cards from your deck. It'll just draw you 3. It won't like ask you to pick Skeletons or Lich. It'll just draw those 3 if they had those tags in your hand. So this other spell, Girl with Grim, here's where it may get a little messy, but it's okay. It's actually a skeleton spell, this one. And I want to make it be a skeleton spell because it generates another card, which is Skeleton. 4 mana, Girl with Grim. Shuffle a Vovina, Daughter of Grim, into your deck. What is Vovina, you ask? Well, look at it this way, right? I try to do almost like Elise, original Elise, not Trailblazer, Starseeker, where you shuffle a map into your deck, and then if you draw the map, you shuffle the monkey into your deck. Well, you have to play a Skeleton Messenger, and instead of the battle cry, like how Elise was a battle cry shuffling the map, the Skeleton Messenger dies, you get this spell. You then have to play this spell, which will then shuffle a card in. So it's kind of like the monkey, kind of not like the monkey. But, so what is Vivina, Daughter of Grim, you ask? Well, she's a 5 mana 4/6 taunt. Kind of wanted to make her be like the Golden Monkey, where she had taunt and she could survive some hits and tank some hits for you. Battlecry. Add a Grim Reaper to your hand, because if she's the Daughter of Grim, she might as well give you Grim Reaper. Now, Grim Reaper, Volvina is not an actual card that you'd be able to craft. If this was an expansion, which I think it'd be cool to stick this into a future expansion, all these Skeleton and Lich cards we made. But the thing is, this would not be a craftable card on its own. It would be kind of like the Golden Monkey, where you have to make cards to get to it. So you would make Skeleton Messenger. So you would probably craft 2 of these, play 2 of them if you're a Skeleton or a Lich deck. You could go for Read the Bones if you're kind of playing an aggressive deck and you're running out of steam, thus you draw 3 more Skeletons for you. So the Warriors would probably pick Read the Bones over the Girl with Grim. But if you're fighting like a control deck, and you're playing like a control deck, kind of want Girl with Grim, because it'll give you Vovina, Daughter of Grim, which will let you take some hits, tank it, and then add a Grim Reaper to your hand. Now, I won't show Grim Reaper until the end, because that card, I feel like, ties this whole bundle of Skeletons and Liches together into a nice little package. So, the next card I'll talk about in place of that, 7 mana for 6/8, Gar, Grimm's Lieutenant. So, I figured there wasn't that many, neutral legendaries that could help support this whole skeleton and lich theme. So, let's add some, right? This should be fun. Okay, so Gar, Grimm's Lieutenant, right? When Gar kills a minion, resurrect it on your side of the battlefield as a skeleton. So, let's say Gar goes and hits a minion. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like a Tyrion. Let's say Gar goes and kills a Tyrion. It brings back that Tyrion onto your side of the field as a skeleton. So, that means any of those cards before that said resurrect a skeleton when this dies, you could potentially resurrect the minion that you took from your opponent with Gar. Kinda crazy, right? Now, I think of it as being totally fun because you can hit and steal minions while still having this dude out to kill a minion and steal it. I think it'd be fair to make it so if Gar dies, like if he hits a Lich King, kills the Lich King, but if he dies, he shouldn't get the buff. Kind of like Darius, right? How if Darius hits a minion and he dies in the process, he does not get the buff. Where with Gar, I feel like that should be the same way. If Gar hits into Serenites, he takes them Cobalt Scale Mains, but if he hits into a fresh Lich King, no, I think Gar would just die in the process, but then you wouldn't get the Lich King. Otherwise, I think it's a great idea, being able to kill things, take them as your own, and then make them skeletons. And that's pretty impactful for those other cards that say buff skeletons, resurrect skeletons, you know. And then this next guy, in addition to all the skeleton lich shenanigans, we've seen Grimm's daughter, we've seen Grimm's lieutenant in battle. Next is Giltaxis, Grimm's pet. Might as well see what pet that the Grim Reaper has. 10 mana for an 8/9 skeleton. Battlecry. Deal damage equal to the number of skeletons and liches. So here's where liches finally get to come in. That died on your side of the field this game. You can choose at a minion. You can choose at the opponent's face. Let's say 15 to 20 skeletons died. You then play Giltaxis, hit the opponent for 15 right in the face, you know? Because if you're going with Skeleton Warrior and you're summoning a bunch of little skeletons that die quick, Giltaxis here just comes in and goes, well, bam, finisher, you know? And if they survive at 1 and your priest plays Time Terror, they prevent all that damage if that was the last amount of damage that was done to him. Pretty interesting stuff. So, we've seen his lieutenant, we've seen Grimm's daughter, we've seen his pet. Now we might as well see the big guy himself. And obviously, you can see where he's inspired from. He was inspired from the big baddie resurrecting god himself, N'Zoth. And here's why. Grim Reaper. 10 mana, 6/8 skeleton. I made him a skeleton too, because I was like, I'm a skeleton to make him a lich. He's going to bring back skeletons. Might as well have him get buffed by them, you know, because they're like his own horde. And instead of making me a 5/7 like N'Zoth, I made him be a 6/8. Here's why. Because if you're playing things like the Warrior, you could resurrect a bunch of 1/1 skeletons. Or some 2/1 skeletons. Or if you're playing Hunter, you bring back some of those old skeletons. But they're still dudes. You know, they're still guys you can use to fight with. But you could also bring back the minions that you stole with Gar, his lieutenant. And his daughter helps add a Grim to your hand. So you could have a few copies of this Grim Reaper. Like I said, it's a little busted, but I feel like it'd be cool. It'd be fun, you know? And push come to shove, yeah, you could nerf Grim Reaper. You could take off his skeleton tag. You could do other things. You could make him be a lich instead of a skeleton. You could even adjust him so he brings back like 3. But I feel like summoning skeletons and lich minions that died this game, same way N'Zoth would bring back dudes, helps to tie the package all together. Because if it wasn't for N'Zoth, Death Rattle Priest kind of really wasn't a thing. If it wasn't for N'Zoth. And then like, even Control Warlock. N'Zoth was huge because you got to bring back your Void Lords and your Rin. So the skeletons themselves seem kind of weak. But the legendaries and other stuff like that make them kind of stronger. Which is kind of how a set should be. It shouldn't be like, oh, here's this really OP common card. Night Gang, Cobalt Scalebanes, you know, stuff that can go into all the decks because they're cheaper. But it should be kind of like, this card is epic or legendary, so that's why it does bigger, better stuff than something that's just a common card. You know? So, hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing all these skeletons and all the liches and all the bones and scary things out there that, you know, we don't get to see year round. We see them around Halloween time, but I figured, might as well have some fun and spook during almost summertime. And with that, hopefully you guys enjoyed these, because I enjoyed making these. Be sure to check out the Discord down below, where you too can submit cards that are custom that you guys make, and I can talk about them and how that they would impact Standard and Hearthstone. Or even just Wild to some extent, if a card seems really busted for Wild. But let me know on the bottom your guys' thoughts on the whole Grim Reaper and skeletal theme as a whole. Do you think it could be part of a new set? Like, it doesn't have to be the whole set, obviously. It could be like a little chunk in the new set. Do you think it'd be viable enough to do that? Do you think it'd be too OP for a new set? Do you think, like, it's just right and it would be cool to have in a new set? Let me know your thoughts after seeing. And with that, I will see you guys for the next one. Alright, see you later.